planners and bullet journals, art projects, organized planner chic.
Well, hello planner babes, and welcome to Organized Planner Chic. I'm Lucinda, and if you haven't subscribed already, please do so and select the bell for notifications. Well, first, I want to thank all my awesome Patreon members who help make it possible to create videos like this. Well, thank you guys so much. And if you're interested in supporting me on Patreon, just go to patreon.com/organizedplannerchic. Okay, you guys, I'm so excited to work on this project with you. It's going to be so fun and easy. We're going to just start off with a grocery bag, a paper bag, that you can get at the grocery store most of the time these days. And I remember growing up and always having these paper bags before it got really heavily into plastic. But places like Sprouts and Trader Joe's and Whole Foods, they pretty much always have paper bags as an option if you don't already have any. Of course, we all go to the grocery store, so you can grab one. So what I'm doing right here is just cutting the side, that corner where it folds on the side piece right there. It's kind of hard to describe, but you guys could see what I just did. And then I'm just going to continue across the bottom of the bag, and then that'll open it up a little bit so that I can cut open the very, very bottom without totally messing up the rest of the stuff. Like, you don't want to just start cutting down somewhere, anywhere. But by cutting just out the bottom piece, it really gives us a nice, really big, wide open, oops, sorry, I just knocked over something, a wide open rectangle of the paper bag. And so then we have the bottom piece that's a really nice, strong piece that we can use in the future for something else. So we're making a traveler's notebook, you guys. Again, I forgot to mention that in the beginning of the video. Of course, you saw the thumbnail and the title, so I know you're not confused about that. So we're going to make a seam all the way around. We're going to start here on the left, and we're just folding it in about an inch. I didn't do any measuring for these types of activities or steps in doing this. I just kind of eyeballed it. So what I'm doing right now is just kind of figuring out about how wide the whole thing that I want to cover. So for my traveler's notebooks, I always make them to be able to hold inserts and, well, when I make an A5 size, to hold inserts and bullet journals or planners. So this one is a planner that's kind of a hybrid planner and bullet journal. And then what I'm doing to make sure it's wide enough for everything that I want to do is I added about another 9 inches to the width of it. So I marked how wide it was, then I took my ruler and I added 9 more inches, and then I just marked that, and now I'm going across the top to just measure out the full length so it'll be in a straight line. And now I'm just going to cut all of the excess off. And you'll see in a moment why we wanted to have another 9 inches added to that, because we want pockets on the side. Okay, so now what I'm doing is I'm just going ahead for the rest and folding over the 1 inch. So I didn't want to go ahead and fold over about an inch on the right side of the whole thing, because I knew I wasn't going to use the whole thing, and that would have been wasted effort, and it probably would have confused me, because I would have thought, oh, this is everything I'm working with, let me go ahead and do all the seams. But I didn't need that much, so I waited till I trimmed off the excess, and now I'm just matching up the 2 seams on the right to find my center. And then I'm just going to take my bone folder and really press that down, because these bags already have a bunch of creases in them. And I'm going to do different things throughout this to kind of make sure I'm paying attention to the right crease. But this is my center. And now I've got to mark my seam at the top and the bottom as well. So again, I'm just eyeballing this. I'm not taking a ruler and measuring out about an inch. I just want to have it look really clean when I'm all done with it. And making this seam makes that possible. Okay, so I'm just doing that. And then I want to say cardboard. I keep wanting to call this cardboard, but it is not. It is a paper bag. So it's not completely smooth sometimes, like right there when I was just thinking I could just go straight down and I'd still have an inch. I really had to pay attention on the long pieces. So, and then it wants to kind of wrinkle up a little bit here and there, and then I just take my bone folder and smooth it out a little bit more. So again, if you don't have a bone folder, you can use a pen or pencil to press that with it, and that'll work out just fine. So now I'm trying to determine how high or where I want to trim it at the top. So I messed up on this part. So I'm going to show you what you should do, because I just did it all the way at the bottom. See where I have the planner? That's not. This is how you're supposed to do it. I did this in a previous video. So you see there at the top how I have about an inch above so that I have room to slide my pocket underneath. And then I have about another inch below. So you really want to set whatever it is, your insert or your planner or your notebook or whatever, above that bottom seam. So you want to sit your planner above that bottom seam that's folded up. Then you still want to mark the top like I did right there, but then you want to mark another inch above that. That's what I'm doing right here. I didn't forget that. I just started too low at the bottom. I should have started above the seam. So now I marked the top, then I marked another inch above that, and then you should mark another inch above that. And then you can have what you should have. So what you should do is set your planner or your insert above the bottom seam, mark the top of your planner, and then mark an inch above that and another inch above that. So you'd have 3 lines at the top. And then what you would do is you would fold in right along that center line. And that way you would have an inch seam above your planner or your insert, whatever you're going to put in this Traveler's Notebook cover or your cover, and you'd have an inch below it, just like the one that I showed you that I did correctly. Okay, so you would still fold in your seam, you would just fold it in that center line instead of, I only have 2 lines right here. And if any of that doesn't make sense, just rewind it, see if it makes sense that time when you watch the video, and if it doesn't, just give me a comment below or send me an email or an Instagram, and I'll be sure and talk it over with you. So now we're getting the last seam pressed down, and as you can tell, it's probably a little tiny bit more than an inch maybe, but it's no biggie as long as everything lines up from my center when I fold it in. As long as everything looks like a nice, mostly kind of a square when it's all folded in, then we're good. Okay, so now I need to do my pockets. So that's why we did the extra 9 inches. So we're going to do 3.5 inch pockets on each side. So 3.5 plus 3.5 is 7. And then we wanted to have a seam on the other end, which was made it 8. So that was 8 inches. And then we had a seam on the right, which would make it 9. So actually, you might need to check that. Depends on, because I can't remember if we already had a seam before I added the other inches. And of course, you can make your pockets as wide or as narrow as you want. You just want to make sure it's not too narrow to where you can't get anything in it, and you want to make sure it's not too wide to where you can't get anything in it. Let me take that back. You don't want to make sure it's not too narrow so that it will hold whatever you're putting in it, and then you want to make sure it's not too wide, because then it might be hard to slip stuff in there because the planner would be in the way or the inserts would be in the way. So I made mine 3 inches, so I marked on the outside and I did a line, and then I folded or marked it with a pencil, and then I'm folding along where I marked it with the pencil. So yeah, and then I have my pockets exactly 3.5 inches, or pretty much. We're going to line it up here in a little bit on each end, and then we're going to check it, because sometimes we mess up, right? See, you might think, well, why didn't you start this over, Lucinda, when you realize that you didn't measure an inch seam above your notebook and below it? Because I didn't think about it. I didn't realize it until later, after I was almost finished with this whole project. So you see, I inserted that clip of me showing you how it should be with the seam at the bottom and the top from another cover that I made, because yeah, I didn't realize it until way too late to fix that. So yeah, so we checked it, right? We checked to make sure that the planner would fit in there, that everything was measured right except for the top and bottom for me because I messed up. Now I'm going to fix that later. You'll see. So now we're going to take a glue stick. That's all we need. We don't need any heavy, dirty, wow, I can't talk. Heavy duty glue for this. It's just paper. It's just paper bag. And we're just going to take the glue stick and glue down those seams. And then it will look really, really neat. It will look, more seamless and clean and not look all, like it's been cut on the end. It'll look professional. And then I just take my bone folder and smooth everything down. It doesn't have to be perfect because there is going to be all kinds of glue all over this thing when we get the Mod Podge out, okay? So yeah, we're going to get this last seam, and I should have put something down. I forgot. I didn't think about it till like the next phase of this project to cover up my surface because I was getting glue stick all on it. But that's okay. A little soap and water. Just water is really enough for that. So now these are the handles from the paper bag, and we're going to make pin loops out of them. You guys, you can make pin loops out of just about anything. So now I'm just taking the two sizes of pins that I mostly use, and I'm just determining about how much of this paper I need so that they will fit in there and that they will also have room to be glued onto the bag or the cover that we're making. Okay, so yeah, I'm just slipping them in there. I'm just making sure I know about how much more room past that loop I need to glue, and then I'm marking it, and I'm just going to cut that out after I mark it. And then I'm definitely going to do two, so I think I'm only going to show you one here in this clip. And then we're going to get the tissue paper and we're going to Mod Podge it on there. So guys, most of the time I used way more Mod Podge in this video than I actually needed to use. So I'll try to keep that in mind and tell you as I go. So look, I really didn't need as much as I'm pouring on this right now. Thin coat would have been fine, and not like too thin. I got to make sure I had coverage, but I didn't need to plaster it because the tissue paper is really thin, and then you're going to put glue on top of that also. So yeah, so we're just going to put it on here. I only opened up the tissue paper one time, as you can see right there, because I wanted a lot. Then I just rolled it over and then pressed down, and there's tons of glue on there. Just going to use my bone folder to smooth it out. Now I want to keep in mind, or let you keep in mind when you do this, we're not trying to make this tissue paper be smooth. That's not the objective here. I know there are projects when you do, but the wrinkles are part of the beauty and the texture of this, so we're not worrying about that. We don't want it to be mountains of hills of tissue paper, but it can be plenty wrinkly. That's totally fine. And so then after we wrap them up, then we're just touching them up or covering them with, right now, way more Mod Podge than I need to, but I definitely wanted to make sure it is around all around, so top, bottom, the edges, and all of that. So now I just marked where my center is. I folded it again, made sure I took a pencil and marked where my fold or center is, because I wanted to what do you call this? Reinforce the spine. So then on either side of the pencil mark, I put some masking tape from Dollar Tree. Yeah. And so I put a piece right in the center along where that pencil line was. And then I'm going to turn it over and just trim the excess. I didn't wrap it around and fold it over because I wasn't sure how much was going to show through with this tissue paper when I was all done. It probably would have been fine, but I didn't know that yet. So I'm just trimming the excess and then folding it along the spine, and of course pressing it with my beloved bone folder. And then I did the same thing on the back, and I'm just pressing it down. Yeah, now I've got me a really nice reinforced spine. You could do that also with another piece of the paper bag. You could do that with a piece that we cut out, that bottom, but I just liked, for some reason I like to use masking tape. Okay, so here's tissue paper for the inside. I just opened it up, all 4 squares, and I'm just marking where I want to put my Mod Podge because I'm going to be putting a lot and it can start drying before you're ready to lay it down, so I didn't want to go further than I wanted to or needed to. And I really layered it kind of hodgepodge. That's funny. Hodgepodge, Mod Podge. But I think it would have been better. I don't know. I'm saying I think it would have been better, but it really doesn't matter. I think it would have been a smoother process if I had just gone up and down instead of all these little dabs I'm doing here, which I did do later, but it's fine. And so now I'm just laying the tissue paper on there and pressing it down. Remember, I didn't separate layers or anything. This is a whole square of tissue paper that I opened up. And then I'm going to put my podge on the top. And again, this was dabs, which I just feel like took longer. And I think it takes longer to dry that way. So, or globs of dabs like I'm doing here. So you'll see when I show you different ways here later on. So yeah, so I did that. And then I put Mod Podge on the rest of it, and I just did the same thing with another piece of the tissue paper right here, except for I layered over a little bit of the tissue paper that was on there before. I think it's about 1.5 inches maybe layered over that, and then I put the Mod Podge on the top, and of course I set that outside and let it dry. And then I just let it dry maybe a couple of hours maybe. I continued to work with everything while it was still damp until we get to one point, and I'll tell you that. And so now we're just cutting I'm just cutting all of the excess tissue paper for that, and that was the inside, because with the inside we just want it to go to the edges. On the outside we're going to overlap the inside so it looks nice and clean. And so yeah. And this tissue paper is so pretty. I shared it in a haul recently, so I'll link that for you guys also in the iCard. And I got so many cool things. Oh my goodness. So this is, I'm using my favorite teeny tiny pair of scissors for crafting that I got from Dollar Tree. I love these little scissors. Oh my goodness. Okay, so now I am just getting my pin loop ready, making sure that, again, that it fits, that I mark where I want to glue it. So I just took my brush there and marked where I wanted the glue to start and end. And I'm taking off some of the excess because I don't want it to be too much, because, you know, the glue spreads. And I just pressed down. I actually pressed down and held my hand down there for like 30 seconds. So I only did one. We're going to take care of putting them all on here a little bit later. So now that, well, the way I'm applying the glue right now is the way that I think is just a little bit more efficient, keeps me from wasting glue. So that's what I did that time. And also when I put it, now we're on the outside, by the way. We flipped it over, we're on the outside now. And so now when I put it over the top, I'm doing the same thing with the up and down strokes, and then I'm going to dab what's already on there into the paper. And I think that just works really well. It's fine the other way. Everything dried the other way. It just took a lot longer to dry because I had way more glue than I really needed. And I was actually running out of Mod Podge when I was doing this project. I was getting stressed because I did not want to go to the store. I was like, I really need to finish this. So it did work out. And I'm so glad I changed my approach. So now it's nice. It feels so good to me, you guys. I love the feeling of Mod Podge on paper like this, especially when it's on both sides and one side is not completely dry and it's nice and cool and sort of damp, but really, really pliable. I know that probably sounds really weird. Does anybody else feel that way? Do you just have certain things that you like the way they feel, or sometimes things the way they smell, and they just, I don't know, they're just pleasing to you? So for some reason, Mod Podge is pleasing to me in that way. So now I'm just cutting the excess and leaving a border around the entire thing from the outside. We're going to flip that over. So we're going to put a little bit of Mod Podge onto, again, this is really thin tissue paper and I don't need that much glue. So I'm putting it on there and I'm doing that all the way around. I'm going to start just one side at a time and then I'm going to fold that over. And then after I fold it over, then I'm going to put a really thin coat over the top as well. So now when I was folding this over, it was kind of not pulling, how do I want to describe that? Like I wanted to make sure that it was flush with the paper bag, but that I didn't rip it. And so later on there and other places, I kind of tucked it in a little more. I think maybe on the other end, I was rolling it and tucking it in to make it try to look a little more flush. Yeah, right in here on the outside. So, I was doing on the inside so that it would look flush on the outside. Yeah, so yeah, just put some Mod Podge over the top of all of it and just pressed and felt, made sure everything felt good like I thought I wanted it to be. And now everything's dry and we are, well, it's mostly dry. It's still enough for me to be able to work with. When I say that, it can feel dry, but it still has like a teeny tiny bit of a dampness or a little bit of stickiness or whatever. You can continue to work with it, but you don't want to do certain things because it will continue to adhere. Like it doesn't cure completely till at least 48 hours. So what I'm doing right here so that I can continue to work is I am putting masking tape on the inside of my pockets before I close them up. Because again, it hasn't cured completely, so that glue will still keep sticking. I've had that happen to me before. And so I'm going to put the masking tape, and it's just going to stay there for forever. And it might one day, from things being passed in and out of the pocket, start to come apart, and that's totally fine because I know that everything will have completely cured at that point. It won't matter. It's not going to stick to itself. So yeah, so I'm just putting enough layers to cover up that whole inside part of the pocket, and then I'm going to flip it and cut off the excess so that it will look nice and clean with my beautiful set of teeny tiny scissors. All right, so I got the bottom or top, and now I'm going to do the other end. I'm going to cut the other end, and of course I'm going to do that for both pockets. And yeah, I do not have to worry about anything sticking to itself. All right, now there we go. We got that. And now I wanted to remind you, I did not do this properly at the top and the bottom. So what you would normally do is you would glue the top of this pocket and the bottom of this pocket on the inch above and the inch below. And then you can slide your notebook in there, but I messed up. So here, what I wound up doing is taping it, and you'll see that here at the end. But some clear tape. You'll see that at the end. But before that, when I realized at this point, yes, I totally messed up. I don't have any extra at the top and the bottom. I tried to glue the top and the bottom. Just glue it at the edge. That's why you see those binder clips there. And I'm sorry, my locks are all in the image and the video. But that wouldn't hold when I tried to put that planner back in there. So just ignore the clips. You'll see later. But at this point, I didn't know yet that they weren't going to hold. So I'm working on getting my pin loop. I just wanted to make sure I have it where I wanted it first. As you can see, I had positioned it too high. And so now I'm repositioning it and working on that and putting some more glue just because I had taken it off. I don't need too much, Lucy. And then I'm going to put it back and I'm going to press down. And again, I pressed down about 30 seconds whenever I actually did it, but it's going to look in the video like I did it for 2 seconds. So, because, you know, I edited the video. So yeah, right here I'm pressing and I'm actually doing that for about 30 seconds, not the 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds that it looks like. All right, so now I'm just adding a little bit of extra glue all around the edge on the pocket to make sure it stays there. And we're going to let that dry. So yeah, I definitely let everything dry between everything I did at a lot. Not 100% because again, it won't be cured, but I let it, okay, yeah, that's dry. It barely feels sticky or doesn't feel sticky at all, but I know it's not 100% dry, but I can work with it right now. So, and I did the same thing with the other pin loop on the other side. So I realized that on the front, I didn't really have any hearts on the front cover whenever the notebook is closed and the cover is closed. And so then I just cut around the hearts on another piece or another one of the napkins. And then I'm just putting some Mod Podge on that and putting it here on the front so that it will look nice and beautiful and all full of hearts. Because February is coming up and my birthday is February 21st and Valentine's Day is the week before. And so yeah, I just thought I'd go with some Valentine's looking stuff. So the hearts and well, both of the tissue papers were in the Valentine's Day section at Dollar Tree. So I don't know if I mentioned that. Yeah, so of course the paper bag came from the grocery store. Both sets of napkins came from Dollar Tree. I actually squeezed some of my Dollar Tree Mod Podge into this container because I was almost out. And then what else did I have in the, and the tiny scissors are from Dollar Tree. And so yeah, I'm just putting some glue. I didn't need much glue. I probably used a little bit more than I needed, which I am so bad about that because it's time for me to get some more Mod Podge. Of course I used tons of it. So here you can see I'm sopping up the excess glue and putting it back in the container. So this is what it looks like before I put anything in here. We're going to do that together. I wound up having, just because of my schedule, having to put my elastics in at the doctor's office, but I'm going to link for you guys in the iCard and in the description below a really short but real time, it's not sped up at all, video that shows you how to put in your elastics for a traveler's notebook. I usually just use that video when I make a traveler's notebook now because it's the same process every time and it's easy. And so here you can see where I taped it. Now if you're just looking at it when I've got stuff in it and everything's set up and I'm carrying it around, you don't even see that. I have used it since this video and you don't notice that there's tape on there. But of course you can see it right now because it's not set up and the lighting is directly on it and all that good stuff. So yeah, that's what I wound up doing, is having to tape it with clear tape at the bottom and the top. And now I'm going ahead and making sure it fits and we're going to set it up. So yeah, so this planner I shared in a video for my, was it my goal? Yeah, my 2021 goals video, bullet journal goals and tracking video. And it's by Go Girl Planner and I'm using it for my Spanish. And it's very, very beautiful and I'm actually enjoying using it for Spanish right now. So yeah, so you can see there now that it's in there, it still fits in there pretty well with the taped up top and bottom. Yeah, I love it. I'm so excited about, for some reason, this one is my favorite one. I think maybe it's just the idea that it's made out of a paper bag that just thrills me. Okay, we're going to set it up a little bit more. We need to put some pins in there. There's some tape stuck to that pin, but we'll take that off. So I'm putting in a Faber-Castell Pit Artist pen and a Pigma Micron. The little silver part there on the cap of the Pigma Microns are always on there so tight, but I got it in there. And this elastic I already had from ages ago. I bought it at Michael's, I don't know how many years ago. And I think I got this flamingo charm, or not, what do you call it, pom-pom from the 99-cent store. It's been about a year, maybe two. And then that little Lucinda came from, gosh, I can't think of who it is, has an Etsy shop. If I think of it, I'll put it on there. I used to have a Hobonichi Weeks and I would order stuff from her and I cannot think of it now. So I made this page marker also that says this week and I'm going to put that into the weekly spread in this planner. Yeah, it's looking cute, y'all. It's looking cute. Oh, look at all that pink. So what else we're going to do? We're going to put a charm, our little charm, crochet charm my friend Holly made me a long time ago on the outside. And while I do that, I want to just thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe and comment and share. It really helps my channel a lot. You can check out all of my creative ventures and adventures on Instagram at Organized Planner Chic. Also, I have 2 Facebook groups. The one for anyone around the world is called Organized Planner Chic Crew, and there we do giveaways, and we try to stay in touch just about every day with all different types of posts. And the other group is local, and it's called Phoenix Planner Friends for Christ. And just check us out if you are local in the metro area. Check us out on Facebook, and we were hoping to start meeting in person again once a month like we used to, but our COVID numbers just are going crazy. So we'll see what God does about that. And then if you are interested in supporting me on Patreon, just go to patreon.com/organizedplannerchic. And until next time, everyone, happy planning!